007 First Light is a game I didn't really care about until it suddenly became one of my most anticipated games. You can say IO Interactive gave me a license to care. The new gameplay reveal for First Light really got me hyped, and they truly went all out with the crazy gameplay mechanics. I rewatched the gameplay demo a couple of times just to catch anything I might have missed, and honestly, I loved every second of what I saw. Safe to say there's a lot going on here and a lot of stuff to talk about. But the question is, should you actually be hyped for 007 First Light? In short, yes. Despite the minor flaws, there are 3 big reasons why you should be hyped for this game. Now here's the thing, I'm not a huge fan of the Bond movies and I've never played any of the older Bond games. When the first trailer dropped for First Light, I was like, meh, and didn't bother watching it. I didn't even know that IO Interactive was working on this game until I watched the gameplay demo. Now the thing is, these people make really good games. I still remember falling in love with Hitman Blood Money back in the day. While making this video, I looked it up again, and it's crazy how a 19-year-old game still holds up to this day. Then there was Hitman 2016. It was also a decent game for the most part, but I bailed out because of the episodic release nonsense and never really went back. Now, even though I played the game for a short while, I still liked it quite a lot. I replayed some missions to test out the crazy stealth sandbox, and it was really cool how there were a ton of ways to approach each mission. You didn't even need to fire a single bullet to get the job done. The whole environment was basically your weapon. You could poison food and drinks, or set up a trap to take out your target and make it look like an accident. It all really came down to how creative you wanted to get. Now the Bond game definitely carries a lot of Hitman DNA, but the devs are saying that it's not a Hitman reskin. Yes, the game looks and feels quite similar, and it's because of the Glacier engine, which I'll talk more about in just a bit. That being said, for a linear story-driven action-adventure game, they're putting a lot of focus on the gameplay mechanics. Which brings us to... First things first, the game looks absolutely gorgeous. The graphical fidelity is insane. There are some hiccups here and there, like some pixelated shadows or some weird reflections, but hey, the game's still 6 months out, so yeah, they have time to polish it. However, the real standout feature of 007 is the gameplay. This is a linear action-adventure game with some open-ended levels specifically designed for the stealth sandbox, and just like the Hitman games, there are a ton of ways you can approach each mission. Now of course, since this is 007 we're talking about, there are a ton of really cool gadgets at your disposal as well. There's poison darts that shoot from your phone, high-intensity laser beams, some Watchdog-style hacking, some smoke bombs, and of course, manipulation. You know, classic secret agent stuff. Lying, bluffing, and sweet-talking your way out of tough situations is actually a feature in this game. Now the poison darts and smoke bombs are pretty straightforward, nothing really crazy. But those Homelander eyes fitted in your watch is pretty cool. You can use it to cut ropes and chains to rob these really expensive chandeliers on bad guys, resulting in some really cool environmental stealth takedowns or just a distraction. Now there are 2 separate meters for gadgets, one shown with a battery icon and the other with this chemical flask beaker icon. Using the laser and hacking use up battery points, while smoke bombs and poison darts consume chemicals. Bond's personal abilities like luring enemies, bluffing, or the focus ability use up the instinct bar, shown by a lightning icon. These meters refill in different ways. For example, instinct, and weirdly enough, the batteries can recharge by taking down guards. However, the chemical bars and batteries can also be recharged by collecting certain chemicals and battery packs. One thing I really appreciate is there's no whistling to lure guards. Instead, watch it! What? However, it's kind of funny not being able to bluff or distract enemies if you don't have enough instinct. It's like, sorry love, can't talk right now, I don't have enough instinct points. Jokes aside, is still a pretty neat feature, especially the bluffing mechanic, where success depends on who you're talking to. Some NPCs won't fall for it, just like in the Hitman games where certain enemies could see right through your disguise. It's not groundbreaking, but this adds an extra layer to an already excellent stealth system, and it makes sense. If you try to fool a security head, of course he would know you're bullshitting. However, I don't know if the dialogue is just generic, or does it actually change based on mission context, or what's actually going on in that level. If it's the latter, that's crazy. Now, unlike the Hitman games where stealth was the main focus, First Light sometimes give you a license to kill, and then it's full-on guns blazing. Just look at those explosions. Reminds me of Just Cause. That game needs a reboot or something cause the last one sucked. Anyways, unlike Agent 47, Bond is much more agile. He can easily parkour and climb stuff, just like Nathan Drake.
I could do this all day.
These guys definitely took some notes from Uncharted 4, and I'm not complaining. I love that game. There are some crazy action set pieces and high-speed car chases. The driving looks and feels solid, but it feels way too smooth for some reason. Even when Bond's driving off-road, it feels like the car is gliding on glass. But of course, this is work in progress, and hopefully things will improve down the road. They also showed off some flashy hand-to-hand combat, and to be honest, it looks really cool. It's pretty smooth and well choreographed. It's not just simple punches, dodges, and parries either. The environment once again plays a big role here. Bond can shove enemies into walls, slam them into stuff, or quickly grab and throw objects just lying around. He can also disarm enemies in style and grab their weapons, which looks pretty cool. One more really neat detail I notice is when Bond is walking near railings or walls, he casually extends his hand out to touch them. And it's the same with his sleight of hand animations. Instead of just pressing a button and watching Bond pick something up stiffly, he does it in a way that feels smooth, quick, and discreet. Like smoothly grabbing something off a table here, or lighting some leaves on fire as he walks past without stopping or slowing down. It's a really tiny detail, but it makes you feel that you're controlling an actual secret agent who knows how to move without drawing attention. On top of that, the NPCs also make the world feel more alive. Everyone has their own routines, and they react to you differently depending on the choices you make. Also, it's not really surprising at this point, but there are seamless transitions between gameplay and cutscenes, and I just love that. These little things, these small details really make the game feel more polished and high quality. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some issues that I'll talk about in just a bit. But yeah, one thing's clear. This is not a Hitman reskin. Just like RDR2 felt similar to GTA 5, or Ghost of Tsushima felt similar to Infamous, First Light resembles the Hitman games because it's powered by the same in-house Glacier engine. And to be honest, Hitman was a beautiful game. It looked really good, and so does First Light. The story of First Light is essentially an origin story for James Bond. I haven't watched all the Bond movies, so correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever really gotten a Bond origin story. He's usually a fully established 007 agent. Here, however, Bond's in his 20s, fresh out of the Navy. He's young, ambitious, a bit rough around the edges, and still has a lot to learn. The mission shown in the gameplay demo seemed like it was near the start of the game, because while the others went in to do the actual job, which was to track down 009, probably a rogue agent, James was basically the getaway driver, an extra set of hands out in the field just in case things went south. And he wasn't exactly too happy about being dressed as a chauffeur, but was still sticking to his position until he noticed something suspicious, and despite the orders, he went to check it out. Then they cut out some footage to avoid early story spoilers, unlike IGN, who went ahead and spoiled 3 whole chapters of a linear story-driven game instead of talking about the gameplay. Anyways, this is a new take on 007, and the guys at IO Interactive had almost full creative freedom with it, with some guidelines of course. But this is their vision, and with what I've seen so far, you can call me intrigued. Very intrigued. Now, since this is a younger version of Bond, there's room for real character development, and it also presents a chance for us to actually bond with him as well. Sorry. But yeah, this is really interesting, because with this we're seeing how James Bond actually becomes James Bond. Even though the game looks pretty and the gameplay is impressive, it's not perfect because there are a couple of issues. One is that the enemies have the aim of a stormtrooper, missing Bond at point blank range and running around out of cover like maniacs. It's not really a big deal, but I do hope it gets improved. Then there is a problem of frame rate drops. For the most part, the game was running just fine, but in some of the more busier sequences, the frames dropped quite a lot. Like the airport sequence, which was full of chaotic action and explosions, and then inside the plane, where Bond hacks into the navigation systems and rocks a plane left and right, once again using the environment to his advantage. But here's the thing. I actually appreciate that they showed the game as it is, cause that's not a common practice. Most studios overpromise and underdeliver by a mile, and personally, I'd much rather see the real thing. Flaws and all, cause I want to see what the end product will actually look like, and if the final game looks and plays even better, that's a real win in my books. Now on paper, these devs are aiming to do something we haven't really seen before in the linear action-adventure genre. Sure, games like Last of Us Part 2 had solid gameplay mechanics with some open-ended sequences and decent stealth and combat gameplay, but at the end of the day it was all pretty simple and straightforward. The real focus were the graphics and the story, which still sucked by the way, but that's a subjective topic. The point is, most games like this rely heavily on looking pretty, telling a good story, and having a few action set pieces. However, the devs at IO Interactive are trying to combine all that with the deep, layered and system-heavy gameplay from their flagship series, the Hitman. And if they can pull that off with a good story and compelling characters, First Light could easily end up being one of the best games next year. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Do let me know, what do you think about 007 First Light? What are some things you liked, some things you are not a fan of? I read and respond to all the comments myself. So yeah, looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks a ton for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, take care.